Why did the US go to war with Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya? Why is the US supporting the destabilizing of Syria? Why are they so desperately trying to gain support for an attack on Iran, when Iran hasn't attacked any country since 1798? Let's first take a look in the past. In 1945, the dollar was established as the world reserve currency. This meant international commodities were priced in dollars. It was made under the condition that these dollars were redeemable for gold. The Federal Reserve was now able to print as much as they wanted, because they did not allow records for what they had printed. Leading up to the 70s, during the Vietnam War, the US made it very obvious that they were spending more money than they had backed by gold. This led other countries to start withdrawing their gold, which rapidly decreased the value of the dollar. In 1971, France wanted to withdraw their gold, but President Nixon declined. He suspended what he said was temporarily the ability to convert the dollar to gold. This was not temporary, it was permanent. In 1973, the petrodollar was born. An agreement with the main oil developing countries was made. They were to only accept US dollars as payment for oil and to invest their profits in US Treasury bonds, notes and bills. In return, the US would protect the oil fields. By 1975, every member of OPEC was selling their oil in US dollars. Taking the dollar off gold and using foreign oil to back the dollar instantly made every oil importing country in the world need a constant supply of Federal Reserve paper. And in order to get that paper, they had to send the US real resources. During the Cold War, the US had an endless supply of money. Because of the petrodollar scam, they could spend as much as they wanted on their military. The US outspent every other country in the world combined. The collapse of communist bloc removed the last threat to the US. They now had control of the world because of their huge military spending. Within that same year, the US invaded Iraq in the first Gulf War. They destroyed their water purification plants and hospitals, and imposed huge sanctions. These actions killed over 500,000 children, and they knew exactly what they were doing. In November of 2000, Iraq started selling their oil in euros. They were making 15 to 20% more selling in euros rather than dollars. This was a direct attack to the US-dominated money system. This is when the US and the media started saying that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, but this was just a propaganda campaign. They also used the impacts of 9/11 to gain public support. In 2003, they invaded Iraq, and as soon as the oil fields were in US control, the sales were switched straight back to the dollar. In Libya, Gaddafi was working on a gold-based currency and was going to be used in a bloc of African countries, and it was going to replace the dollar. The US and NATO collapsed the government in 2011. They executed Gaddafi and installed the Libyan central bank. Iran has started trading its oil for gold. This is another attack to the petrodollar. They have tried sanctioning Iran and are trying to develop support for an attack on Iran by saying they are developing weapons of mass destruction. Syria and Iran have a mutual defense agreement, which means they will defend each other if they are attacked. Syria is in the process of being destabilized. The US is currently working to create the illusion that these attacks are justified. The motives become pretty obvious. If even a couple of countries stop selling their oil in US dollars, it will start a chain reaction. There's nothing else giving the dollar its value. They have been using the military to collapse any country or government that tries. But you really need to understand, this will not end with Iran. China and Russia have publicly stated that they will not tolerate an attack on Iran. If Iran falls, they will have no way to escape the dollar without going to war. But the US is still continuing. This is going to lead to World War III. This is a plan that's projected from a long time ago. You have to ask yourself though, who would kill so many people just to protect the dollar? Well, ask yourself who benefits. The Federal Reserve, which is a private company, has the ability to print as much money as they please. These bankers which own the Federal Reserve are the people who benefit from this. These are the people leading us into World War III. These people will take it as far as you allow them to. The odds don't matter anymore. If you understand what we are facing, then you have a moral responsibility to do everything in your power to alter the course that we're on, regardless of the odds. It's only when you stop basing your involvement on the chance of success that success actually becomes possible. To strip the ill-gotten power of the financial elites and to bring these criminal cartels to justice will require nothing less than a revolution. The government is not going to save us. The government is completely infiltrated and corrupt to the core. Looking to them for help is completely arrogant. We have to actively work to wake up as many people as possible about what is happening and the direction we are heading. All revolutions originate from a shift in the mindset of the population, and no other meaningful resistance is possible without it. When an idea hits critical mass, it begins to spread on its own and spreads to all levels of society. We need more people in this fight. We need more people speaking out, making videos, writing articles, getting this information onto the national and international stage.